Hello, great people. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on where you are watching us from. Kata kata deo. Igbos have been threatened not to vote in Lagos, in a country considered their own. And in the country's law, you have the right to vote in any part of the country you reside. As a citizen of this country, I don't want to talk about non-citizens. As far as Nigeria is concerned, Igbos are supposed to vote in every part of the country. Now, one MC Oluomo is threatening Igbos. He said, unless you are voting for APC, you cannot come out to vote. And you know how such threats goes. They attack people. And we are yet to hear that police arrest this guy. Nothing has happened to him. And this was the case with the election of the 25th February, the presidential election. Nothing has happened. Remember, Igbos did not want this. Igbos asked to succeed. Yoruba elders were part of why Igbos returned to Nigeria. They fought to keep Igbos. So, and for that reason, and for the sake that Nigeria is concerned, Igbos have the right to reside in any part of the country. Legitimately. And due to this politics, several attacks have been inspired against Igbos. I really want to talk about this. I want to tell Yorubas not to be confused and not to be misled that Igbos are trying to take Lagos. No, that is not the case. There is this political, should I say political wickedness holding Lagos hostage since 1999, since the coming of Tinubu. In their bid to continue to hold Lagos hostage, they will do anything. They can instigate ethnic violence, inspire you against another tribe. Igbos are not the only people residing in Lagos. And by the way, the votes P2B got in the presidential election were not coming from just Igbos. Yorubas voted too to make sure Tinubu lives. Yorubas voted. In fact, I will not say Igbos voted more than Yorubas. A lot of Yorubas are tired with being held hostage in Lagos by one man since 1999. And that is why the vote went the way. Igbos alone cannot vote and remove and make P2B win in Lagos. No. Yorubas supported. That was what happened. But to attack Igbos saying this and that, I don't think it's normal. These are reasons why we're asking, let us go jeje on our own. How can you keep attacking people because of the exercise their franchise in a country you consider their own, that they want to live, and you said they can't live? And we have not had anything happen from the federal government. And such out, can you imagine a Tinubu presidency, such out MC Oluomo will be going to Aso Rock, will take part in dictating what happens in the whole of Nigeria. Something is seriously, fundamentally wrong. And that is why the winner of this election must be made to climb there, and not people who went through the back door. Meanwhile, I want to show you a video. And this video is centered on taking Lagos back. I'm not talking about LP, no. I'm talking about destroying, by voting out, the system that has held Lagos and Yorubas hostage for a long while. Forget about the ethnic lies they tell you. These guys want to snatch your place. The likes of Nsima and the rest of them. No, that is not the case. Igbos are, every party participates, every political party in Nigeria has a stake in every state. They want to have their person there. So that is the same thing we are seeing. Igbos are not interested in taking Lagos. No, that is not the case. They are supporting a candidate. Perhaps they feel this candidate will listen to us. What has happened about Igbo market that were burnt? Nothing, and nothing will happen. So the essence of this video I'm going to share with you is for the sake of emancipation. Emancipation. Certain people will watch this video. Please forget whoever has brought about this video. Reason with this. And tomorrow is the D-Day. Vote out this subjection. Vote out this grip on Lagos by certain people. Vote it out. Save Lagos for yourself. Forget about who is going to rail out what this video shows. But listen to the video and reason with it. Don't be fooled by these people continually. Every time it comes to this, they start playing ethnic card and the rest. Who is Igbo and not? Igbos are not planning to take Lagos. Igbos are doing business. Lagos is good for business, and due to the sea and everything, imports, and that is why you see Igbos and Mazi. And by the way, Igbos are in other part of the country. Take note. You can travel to other part of the country. If you go to Abuja, you say Igbos are even more in Abuja. If you go to Plateau, you will say Igbos are even more. Anywhere you go, you will think you have more Igbos than Igbos in the other part of the country. So don't be deceived further. I would like to play this video and deduce from. Let it inspire your voting tomorrow.
But let's talk about the ethnic tension and, shall I say, tribal politics that we've been witnessing, not even just in Lagos State, but in the whole of Nigeria. What would you say is responsible for it?
Desperation. Pure desperation. What you see happening, I can speak to Lagos State. It's pretty difficult for me to speak to places where I don't live and I have very little by way of experience, but I can speak plainly to Lagos State. The seed for what is happening in Lagos State today was effectively laid with the fraudulent presidential election. And I say fraudulent because there is sufficient basis upon which to make that claim. But more importantly, the figures that were released in Lagos State as the presidential election result were already doctored before they were released. It has no basis in reality. Yes, Labour Party won.
Do you have any evidence?
Oh yes, there is more than sufficient evidence. Where INEC has become completely unreliable in terms of declaration of result, I will not even rely on the result that we have in our situation room. If I go by what PDP released in the public space, is more than sufficient. PDP said Peter Obi and Labour Party had over 900,000 votes in Lagos State. They had a little over 100,000. And APC are the same. The truth of the matter is that Bola Ahmed Tinubu was roundly rejected in Lagos State. It wasn't just the Igbos. It wasn't about the Igbos rejecting him. He was rejected across the length and breadth of Lagos State because it was a referendum on his 24 years rule and hegemony in the state. So when you now heard the INEC people announcing a result that was supposedly so close with such depressed voters' number, I remember that I was on a rise maybe a couple of days after that result was released, and I said at the time very clearly that this result is not reflective of what happened. At my polling booth, they were counting votes up until 1:43 a.m. in the morning. My wife did not vote until around 8:30 in the evening. And so the same happened across the length and breadth of Lagos, despite the best effort of those who were bent on disrupting the elections. So when they brought out the figure, I said immediately that one, it was not as close as they would like to pretend that it was. It wasn't close, it was a whitewash. However, in order to validate the lies that they have to tell and the tribal hatred that they are stirring up, they had to portray a close election so that the script that they have already written for this Saturday's election might be legitimized in all the nonsense they are doing. So number one, we must be clear about something. The first duty of a state is the protection of citizens. When you have a situation where citizens are being attacked and people are being singled out for attack, you had the one in Ije Ododo, one Bale in Ije Ododo, or Kabiesi in Ije Ododo, suddenly remembering that he wants to worship Oro. and is declaring Oro during the period when people should be out.
Well, I think we've had a clarification on that. He said the Oro rights will go up until Friday.
If you have had clarification on that, there was another one in social media today. Some pitted clown talking about another Oro again. Yet this was the same person that was caught on camera during the presidential poll. So you have a situation where you can speak about the political class in a situation where you have a political class. What we're dealing with is a criminal class that is determined to hold the people down by force of arms or whatever it takes. They are making this about tribe because there is no record to place before the people. We've had 24 years. 24 years. My people have a proverb. They say, okay, well, we are going to have to temper our language a bit. Let's temper our language a bit. National television, okay, so we have to be very careful. I hear you, but let me say this. I am not a frivolous man. I did spend some years practicing some type of law before I retired as a lawyer, so I'm well advised as to the possible legal liability of any word that I might use. So anything I'm saying, take it as a given that before I would open my mouth to say so, I know as a fact that what I'm saying is the truth and I have absolute fact standing behind it. And because you have said so, let me explain myself. Over 2 years ago, I sat in this same studio and I announced to everyone that there was a murder plot over my life. And I then went on. This was after I had submitted petitions to the DSS and to the State Commissioner of Police. Up until today, in this state, in a country governed by law, nothing has been done. Some of those persons are the ones busy going around threatening people again today. I've been coming to your TV studio for a while. This is the first time in years since I've been coming here that I'll see armed soldiers required to protect what is supposed to be free press. So we're dealing with a situation where even though we might pretend that we're dealing with normalcy, there is nothing normal about our situation. If the people are allowed to vote in a free and fair election, these people are over. That's the truth. They have no record to place before the people, only intimidation, blackmail, ethnic division, religious division, all sorts of divisions in order to keep the people from seeing the truth of what they should be facing. Was it the Igbos that have been digging up roads in Lagos State over the last 24 years? Has the Igbos been the one that have stopped the rail that has taken 7 kilometers or thereabout that has taken 16 years to construct? Was it the Igbo that has stopped that? Who is the person who is busy selling all of Lagos to people that is now shouting about Indigbo? There is just a validation of hatred in order to divide the people's attention so that they might not face the issue. The real issues are about a collapsing state, a collapsing country. They might want to forget all of that and distract our attention.
Let me just interrupt you briefly. Earlier you talked about criminal gangs, being given free hand to run. Yes. And of course we've seen all sorts of posts and videos on social media that could be characterized as hate speech. But sadly nobody has been arrested, nobody has been prosecuted. Yes. So I'm wondering, is it that there are no laws against such, or is it that the laws are not being implemented? If the laws are not being implemented, how do we enforce that?
I've been shouting for years. It's pretty much the same seat, talking about the fact that we are not a country governed by law, that we are a country governed by impunity, that our policemen pretend to uphold the law, but they know that they dare not uphold the laws. If they tried it, their political masters will end up in prison cells. So what you end up having is the administration of impunity, and that is what governs Nigeria. So these people you call criminal gangs, that I will also call criminal gangs, they are not really criminal gangs in the classic sense. They are part and parcel of the governance process of Lagos State and practically the whole of Nigeria. Because you were there, people saw pictures. There, right there in broad daylight, policeman standing, the evidence of the state. In Yoruba language, you call policemen Olopa. Olopa actually emanates from the person who carries the staff of office, the upper staff of office, is insignia and authority. So, in the Yoruba's mind, the Olopa is the symbol and representation of the state. You saw policemen at multiple locations standing aside while thugs, quote and unquote, we call them thugs, but they are not thugs. These are stakeholders in the governance of the state. The BBC had a documentary where they had MC Mushroom Pikin calling governor. That is what we are all pretending we do not see. And that is what they are hiding behind the hatred that they are stirring up all over the place. So you and I will call them gangs because that tickles our fancy and it helps us to deodorize those who wear bow ties, wear suits, wear agbada, sit down in your studio and speak Dogon Turenchi to cover up for those who are carrying guns and are threatening everybody else's peace. The reality is that they are not criminal gang in the true sense of it. They are part and parcel of the governance of Lagos State and have been for the last 24 years.
So if we say we are a state or maybe a country governed by impunity, how then do we change this narrative? You said you've been here several times talking about the same issue. So that in case for you not to come back in a few months' time talking about this, what then would you say is the way forward?
There is no danger of me coming back in a few months' time to say this. And I'll tell you why. Ultimately, if people get the kind of government they deserve, the Nigerian people can blame Tinubu, they can blame Abiola and Obasanjo, blame this, blame that. Ultimately, they bear the responsibility for the governance of their country. When you find people who knows the truth but finds a basis to justify their hatred, which blinds them from what they should see, they are telling you all of a sudden that a person born of a Yoruba parent to an Igbo mother is no longer a Yoruba. They are justifying hatred. These same people were so progressive in their thinking that they were the first to start appointing Igbo commissioners. There is somebody from Kanu in Lagos State. So they are progressive when they need to be, but when it serves their purposes to demonize in order to divide, they remember very quickly. All of a sudden, look, at the end of the day, they want us to have these asinine debates, debating nonsense when we should be facing issues. The issues are, how is it impossible in a state that is more or less underwater, that the whole of Lekki Peninsula does not have a square inch of pipe-borne water after 24 years of the genius of Bodilon? How is it that in Lagos State, we still do not have a coherent education system? And nobody who can afford it will send his child to a government school. And that is when the government school is even available. You have less than 3 out of 10 classroom spaces in Lagos State owned by the state. And how good are those schools? Those are the questions we should be asking, but they will prefer that we are not asking those questions. They will prefer that we are talking about his Baba is Igbo, his mother is this, his hype-up, is that nonsense. Those are the distractions, and it is up to the people to either allow themselves to switch on their brains and decide what is in their own enlightened selfish interest, or they continue to allow their enemies to point at their enemies for them. I have made up my own mind. When all this is over, Nigerians will live with the consequences of their choices, because at the end of the day, even where they did not choose, such as the last election, where we chose across the country in overwhelming numbers, they have started applying tribal and ethnic sentiments in order to divide what was a nationwide cohesive mandate and divide it to portray it as an ethnic agenda. And Nigerians are the ones who are receiving it in spite of what they know. So it's really, if you set yourself on fire, the blind still wouldn't see. So what's the point? Yeah. I hate to say this, but they say when the Agama fell from on top of the Iroko tree, it beat his head. He said, yes, I have tried. It shall be said that I did my best, so don't worry. It's unlikely you'll find me in your studio. I'll go and take care of my wife and my children and face my own business. I've tried my best. It will be up to Nigerians to decide their own future.
Well, just before you retire, we're still going to ask you a few more questions. And I would like to make use of your legal knowledge. Now, for those that have fallen victim of this ethnic tension, for instance, we've heard of shops of Igbo traders being burnt. We've heard that some people have been threatened physically not to dare come out and vote on election day if they're not voting for a particular candidate or a particular party and so on. So can this set of people maybe sue for compensation? And if they do, who would be held liable?
Nobody. Like he told you.
We ask these questions about a society that is far from ideal.
Oh.
I practice
But
law.
surely there must be somewhere we can run to. People say the judiciary is the last hope of the common man.
The judiciary is the last hope of the common man. An often repeated quotation. But the unfortunate reality of the Nigerian is that our judiciary is not the last refuge of anybody but the rich. The poor will get judgment. The rich will get justice. If something happens, see, I rarely talk about my own issues. I speak to national issues, but I was grievously wounded in my private space by the powers that be in this state. And I went to court. You know, they tell you, go to court. Just like you are counseling what they might be able to do, these people who are aggrieved. I went to court. 3 years after, I'm still in court. My case hasn't been called for one day like this, in this court. So when you live in a country where people completely, they talk about, there was an SAN, because I don't want to ruffle too many feathers. So this SAN was the governor of a state. And it became a mantra that when they gave you certain dates, if you are prosecuting certain cases against the state or persons who have influence in this particular state in question, the judges will give you dates when the judges were already aware that they will not be sitting when they were on assignment elsewhere. So they started calling those dates by the SAN's name. So let's imagine that the person's name is Dele. So they started calling Dele's dates. So you knew when you were handling such cases that both the registrar of the court and the judge, they both knew, they knew from day one what dates in the court register the court will not be sitting. But those are the dates we are going to be getting in those cases. So 7 years down the line, if I was paying a lawyer 3 years after my case had not been called, wouldn't I be frustrated and walk away? That is the lot of the Nigerian. There is a place, they will trumpet, they will tell you that they built the free trade zone, they are going to bring airport. Those are people's ancestral homes. They are sources of livelihood. Lagos State government grabbed it. We've been in court on behalf of some villages, 140 villages in the Ekpe axis. We've been in court for probably like the last 5 years. One adjournment after the other. So they will always tell you go to court because they know they are waiting for you in the court. That's the unfortunate reality. So really, the only recourse for the Nigerian will be a readiness to assert their citizenship. It will be up to them to find ways to do that. Because
they assert their citizenship.
I have never hidden the fact of where I stand. Our governance system does not flow from our free will. It flows from a military imperative, and that is Decree 24 of 1999. If that document had flown directly from our own will, if it was an expression of our sovereign will, the first president that served using that constitution would have respected our will and understood that he gained power by virtue of our will. But because they had never respected our will, it has always been up to them to decide what to do at any point in time because they are not bound by the law. So we are in a situation where the Nigerian people would have to, on their own, determine what is in their best interest. And then, as far as I'm concerned, the only way to change this system is by a revolution. The only thing I will not sanction is violence. But I believe that we are getting to a point where this system is demanding a head-on confrontation because if I cannot go to court to find justice, surely I must find justice somewhere. If that means I'm chaining myself to a bridge to demand that you are either going to... the only thing is no violence. I disavow violence.
When you talk about a revolution, what comes to mind? I think we had a mini...
Let me tell you, no, don't worry.
I think we had a mini preface
don't worry.
with the NSAS.
No.
And of course, remember what happened at the Lekki toll gate.
Yes.
Questions still unanswered years after.
No, there is a need to clarify something. There is a danger that happens in Nigeria fairly regularly. Words come to Nigeria and they acquire new meaning in Nigeria because we infuse it with our own peculiar circumstances. The word revolution comes from a French word, revolver. What does it mean? It means to turn round. It simply means turn around. The way we are going, our trajectories is not suggestive of sustainability. It should be clear to anyone who is looking at our situation that you can't sustain this. Whoever becomes the president of Nigeria on May 20, whatever it is, would have to contend with 77 trillions in debt. That person would have to contend with the fact that you have massive youth unemployment, would have to contend with...
Okay, let's stop in there. Why did we brought to you this video? Is for you to realize Yorubas, Igbos are not your problem, but a criminal class there that has held Lagos hostage for 24 years, from 1999. That is the problem. Each time election comes, they point to you, ethnicity, this and that. The idea is to remove your eyes from what is the truth. Their target is to push you against these people. They are only about, it's a kind of desperation. They want to continue to hold on to Lagos State. And they are ready to stake Igbos mainly. They tell you Igbos are the problem. Igbos wants to have their way in Lagos. Look at what he said there. Igbos never wanted to have their way when you were appointing certain Igbos in some offices until election time. Igbos voting in Lagos to exercise their franchise as Nigerians because they are Nigerians. And Nigerians not permitted to vote anywhere they are supposed to vote. Now he talked about the Lagos the presidential election, which was held 25th, which announced that P2B somehow edged out Tinubu in Lagos, which is, the result is actually a fluke. We know they are trying to compensate Igbos. Meanwhile, the fact of the matter is that P2B won far more than that, based on what he said. He said PDP also have the facts. 900,000 naira. Money. 900,000 people differences. The gap is so wider than that. Meanwhile, it's so sad that the courts has given INEC order to wipe off evidence. So the court is complicit in what is happening in Nigeria. And that is why he was asked, what are the people supposed to do to make things right in a case whereby the court does not work? And that is why they, even on each occasion, INEC chairman would have done something right, but he wouldn't. He refused. He points towards the court. He knows you can't get judgment in the court. So when asked, what are the people supposed to do? He clearly said it, a revolution. But he was not talking about a violent revolution. Things cannot continue to go like this. That is what he's trying to say. If things continue like this, these guys will continue to trample upon us with their feet, continue to do whatever they like. Now, can you imagine that somebody like Tinubu, with all the cases, alleged drug case and the rest of them, will become a president of Nigeria? Are the drug pushers going to be punished? With all that is attached to his name, do you think they will fight crime? Aside that, okay, look at what is happening in Lagos, for example. With the Lagos setup, do you think Nigeria as a country will be okay? Imagine NC Oluomo becoming a minister, or, he keeps breezing into Aso Rock easily. Imagine those kind of people running Nigeria, because certainly he will get the post. What is Nigeria going to become? Now and again, what if P2B did not get judgment in court? Because it's easy for them to say, go to court now. They beat their chest. Because their people are in the court waiting for you. When a number 4 man become governor in Imo State, just like that, based on court declaration, nothing to prove. What do you think? Go to court. As if the court is a trustworthy court. It is their own court. So for him, he's saying a revolution is what will solve it. That's what he said. You had him right. People have to revolt in a way they need to. And according to him, he's not talking about violence. Or else, nothing will change. And look at what happens. If you chase, is it a goat, or you keep chasing people to the wall, or a goat or an animal to the wall, you realize that when it gets to the wall, it doesn't have where to go again. It will come back. That is what will happen. It is in the hands of the people to change this situation. Things cannot continue to be like this. Can you imagine? People with such character holding Lagos, gripping Lagos for 24 years, holding Lagos hostage, deceiving some people that there is development. Look at what they said in some part of Aja that they don't have pipe-borne water. It's because you've not seen something greater that you think that small is enough. Yes, when you have not seen something greater, you think average is okay. You think if not for Tinubu, Lagos would not have been what it has been. Who told you? Who told you that there are not other competent Yorubas that can outdo him in development? Because you have not tested egusi, I think Ogbono is the best soup. Anyway, why I shared this video is because of tomorrow's election. I want Yorubas to note, Igbos are not their problem. Igbos are only exercising their franchise. And Igbos did not make P2B win in Lagos. It was some Yorubas who are tired of Tinubu's excesses in Lagos. The same Yorubas should come out and vote tomorrow, Saturday. Vote for change. The real change. Stop being deceived that Igbos are trying to take Lagos. No. There are a lot of you in Lagos whose parents are like that. Igbo Yoruba parentage. The fact is that his father is a Yoruba, and he is more of Yoruba than even the people criticizing him. Don't get stuck to thinking, this guy has done. When you go to Ivory Coast, you go to Rwanda, you will see world best cities. Go to Cape Town, Johannesburg. You think Lagos is anything. There are more competent Yorubas. I'm not talking about just governorship. There are. Anybody else would have done what Tinubu did. What did Tinubu do? What did he even do? Anyway, I will leave you here. I just want you to know that Igbos are not your problem, but the political class, because of what they will get, because they are using their criminal mind to manipulate you, to push you against yourselves. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more updates. Bye-bye for now.